Growing up, I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth. Life threw every hurdle it could at me. My folks worked their fingers to the bone just to keep the heat on and a few scraps on the table. Early on, I figured out what it meant to grind and give up comforts. I can still picture those nights in our cramped kitchen in Boise, Idaho, where we'd dig into plain old potatoes and gravy. My parents, though, they'd act like it was a 5-star meal, insisting we all sit together. They drilled into me that family's about heart, not fancy stuff. Those moments molded me into the man I am. By the time I hit 18, my dad's health took a nosedive. It fell on me to step up. While my buddies headed off to universities, I landed a gig at a repair shop in a quiet corner of Raleigh, North Carolina. It wasn't flashy, but man, I loved piecing broken engines back together, making them hum again. I got good, real good, and before long, I was the go-to guy for fixes in our little town. Still, deep down, I craved something bigger, a family to pour my soul into. Then I met Clara. She flipped my world upside down. Sweet, sharp as a tack, and drop-dead gorgeous, she had this grin that could chase away the darkest clouds. Her laugh? It was like medicine after a brutal day. We fell hard and fast, and next thing I knew, we were saying I do in a small chapel, vowing to have each other's backs forever. I thought I'd found my ride or die, someone to share every victory and struggle. We built a life I was damn proud of, a cozy home in Columbus, Ohio, filled with joy, 2 awesome boys, Nathan and Elliot, and a future that sparkled like a clear summer day. I threw myself into being the dad and husband I'd always wanted to be. Worked my tail off to provide, never second-guessing the long hours, because I believed in us. But life's funny, sometimes even the sturdiest houses fall apart when you miss the tiny cracks. Think about it, little things can wreck everything. Like that Columbia shuttle disaster back in '03, some loose foam insulation brought the whole thing crashing down, lives lost, dreams shattered. Or a speck of plaque in an artery, smaller than a pinhead, clogging up blood flow and stopping a heart cold. A slick spot on a rainy road can send a car spinning into chaos. Life's full of these moments, small, sneaky details that can flip your world upside down. Looking back, I see it in my own story. Marriage? It's a big deal, no question. I've been hitched to Clara for just over 8 years now. She's a gem, and together we've got our boys, Nathan, named after my granddad, and Elliot, a nod to my dad. We've got a solid place in a neighborhood perfect for raising kids. I never made it to college, but I've carved out a decent career fixing cars. My hands keep us steady, and the late nights are worth every penny. Providing for my family's been my greatest pride, something I've taken to heart. But yeah, small things can end it all. In my case, it was a tiny vein in my head, pressed too close to another. One day, it flared up and set off a migraine that hit like a freight train. The usual stuff came on fast, light stabbed my eyes, sounds roared like a jet engine, and smells twisted my gut. It was brutal, no warning at all. I knew what it was right away, but the problem was, I didn't have my relief spray with me. The pills in my pocket were too slow, nowhere near strong enough. The pain got so bad I couldn't keep wrenching on cars. I staggered into my boss's office, barely able to string words together, and told him what was up. He didn't hesitate, called his assistant, Marla, and said, "Get him home. Now. He's in no shape to drive. Move." Marla and the boss half carried me out of the shop. She propped me against a wall outside, told me to hang tight, and ran to grab her car. I stood there, eyes squeezed shut against the glare, hands clamped to my head, trying to will the pain away. When she pulled up, I collapsed into the passenger seat, blocking out the world. The light burned, noises grated, and my stomach churned with every whiff of anything. Lucky for me, Marla knew my address, so I didn't have to mumble directions. It felt like ages, but we finally rolled up to my place in Columbus. Marla helped me inside, guiding me to the kitchen like I was a kid learning to walk. I pointed her toward the fridge where I kept my spray. She grabbed it, steadied my shaky hands, and I took a hit of the medicine. Relief started creeping in almost instantly, like a cool breeze after a scorcher. I asked her to help me to the living room so I could crash on the couch, just to let the meds do their thing. Clara dimmed the lights, pulled the shades down, and hung around until I mumbled that the pain was easing up. I thanked her for getting me home, and she slipped out. The house went quiet, like a blanket settling over everything. The migraine faded, and I must have dozed off on the couch in our Columbus living room. When I came to, it was dark, and voices drifted in. My head was clear, but my body still felt like it had been through a ringer, a lingering gift from the migraine. I sat up slowly, piecing together where I was. The voices belonged to my wife, Clara, and our neighbor, Denise. They were chatting away, probably thinking I wasn't home since my truck wasn't out front. Clara might have figured I was working late and crashed elsewhere. I considered sneaking over to the kitchen door to give them a playful scare, but then their words hooked me, and I froze, listening. "Come on, Clara, dish it," Denise said, her voice all eager. "How is it? Better than last time? Give me the scoop." Clara let out a soft laugh. It was unreal, like floating on a cloud. Honestly, this time blew the others out of the water. Best I've ever felt, hands down. Denise gasped, loud enough to echo. "Better than with Nathan? Better than your husband?" Clara didn't miss a beat. "Oh, absolutely. I love Nathan to death, but he's never come close to that. Never. And I'd never ask him to try stuff like that, he'd think I was some kind of wild woman." Denise gave a shaky chuckle. "So, Bryce thinks you're a wild woman, huh?" Clara's voice had a sly edge. "Sure does, and I'm his wild woman. Can't wait for the next round." Denise's tone shifted, getting serious. "Aren't you worried Nathan will find out? What did he do?" "You're playing with fire here, Clara." Clara brushed it off. "Nathan's not gonna know. And even if he did, what's he gonna do? He's too good a guy. He'd forgive me. No way he'd walk away, he'd never risk losing the boys. He knows I'd fight tooth and nail with a hotshot lawyer and take them. He'd be done." Denise sounded uneasy. "That's not like you, Clara. I've never heard you talk about Nathan like that. How can you say you love him and then say this stuff? You're freaking me out. I think you're making a huge mistake." Clara's voice got quieter, almost heavy. "I do love Nathan, I swear. But I'm not giving up Bryce, either. I need what Nathan gives me, his heart, and what Bryce gives me, that spark. I want both, and I'm not letting either go." That was it for me. The migraine was gone, but a new pain slammed into my chest, sharp and heavy, like a sledgehammer. My gut twisted, my breath hitched, and a buzz filled my ears. I thought I might keel over right there. I grabbed the couch arm to steady myself, waiting for my heart to stop racing. Even as I got a grip, I didn't let on I was there. Anger boiled up, hot and fierce, until I felt like I'd burst. I stood straight, squared my shoulders, and marched into the kitchen. Silence hit like a brick wall. Denise saw me first, her eyes went wide, mouth falling open in a silent gasp. She slapped a hand over her lips, muttering, "Oh, God." Clara spun around, spotting me. Her face flickered, content, then shocked, then scared, then mad, all in a split second. She shoved her chair back and stood, glaring. "How much did you hear? Were you creeping around, eavesdropping?" I locked eyes with her, then glanced at Denise. She bolted up, stammering, "I gotta go. Me and Vince'll watch the boys. I'll call if you don't pick them up." She darted out the back door. I watched her go, saying nothing, then turned to Clara. My head was spinning as I stared at the woman I'd given my all to for 8 years, best years of my life. I thought we'd be old and gray together, but that dream was ash now. She'd torched it tonight. "Where are the boys?" I asked, my voice low but cutting. "Where were they while you were off having your fun with your guy? Did you even think about them, or were you too caught up in your thrill ride?" Clara's face twisted, her beauty warping with fury. "The boys are with Denise's sister, Tara. Me and Denise hit the mall, and Vince was watching them. I wasn't with anybody else, just her," she snapped, like she'd won something. Her smug look faltered as the truth sank in. "Why were you even home? Where's your truck? What, you're just sitting in the dark, trying to trap me?" I kept my voice flat. "Got a migraine. Couldn't see straight. Marla drove me home from the shop. Took my spray, passed out. Been here since. Your voices woke me, and what I heard made me sick. A wave of nausea hit, and I thought I'd lose it right there. I need the bathroom," I muttered, stumbling off. I dropped to my knees by the toilet, heaving, but nothing came up. My body shook, trying to purge the hurt, but it was stuck deep. I slumped on the bathroom floor, my cheek pressed against the cold tile, letting the chill calm my nerves. My stomach finally quit churning, and my breathing evened out. When I felt steady enough, I shuffled back to the kitchen. Clara was perched at the table, gazing out the window into the Columbus dusk. "I'm heading to grab the boys," I said, my voice like ice. "I'll get them tucked in tonight." Without waiting for her to say a word, I walked out and headed next door to the Harrisons' place. Vince and Denise Harrison were our tightest neighbors, practically family. We'd spent countless nights swapping stories and beers at each other's houses. Best friends, what a kick in the gut that thought was now. Did Vince know? Should I even ask? I climbed their porch steps, rapped twice, and let myself in. Denise was at their kitchen table, a mug of tea steaming in front of her, talking low to Vince. Her face was all nervous, while he screamed pity. She'd clearly spilled everything. "I'm here for the boys," I said, brushing past Vince toward the living room where I figured Nathan and Elliot were. "They ready to head home?" Sure enough, they were sprawled out with Tara, the Harrisons' teenage daughter, piecing together a jigsaw puzzle. Tara flashed a warm grin when she saw me. "Hey, Mr. Carter, are you here for the kids?" I nodded, and she said, "I'll grab their coats." Watching them, my heart sank. The boys were giggling, oblivious, and it hit me hard. Betrayal doesn't just wreck the grown-ups. It's these little moments, the pure family stuff, that get crushed under the weight of selfish choices. Scars like that don't fade. "Thanks, Tara," I said. "I'll be in the kitchen when they're set." Back in the kitchen, I looked from Denise to Vince. "Did you know?" I asked, my voice sharp, anger spilling out. "Did both of you know she was stepping out on me?" "Vince, how'd it feel, hanging out with me while she played me for a fool? Was it some sick rush?" I hadn't meant to sound so raw, but I needed the truth. I needed to know what my so-called buddies had kept quiet. Vince's face darkened, and he shot a hard glance at Denise before turning to me. "I had no clue, man. Swear to God. If I'd known, I'd have told you the second I heard." I'm floored. "Denise kept this from me, that's low, real low. You don't deserve this." "I can't speak for her, but I've got your back." His glare at Denise said plenty, and I bought it. If Vince had been in on it, he'd have come clean. This was Clara and Denise's secret, nobody else's. I turned to Denise. "Thanks a lot, Denise. Thanks for letting me be the idiot," the punchline. Did it feel good, knowing what you knew, hearing her gloat? Hope it was worth it. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Tara walk in with the boys, each munching on a cookie. Her uneasy look told me she'd caught some of my words. I prayed she hadn't heard it all, but her face said otherwise. Right then, I swore Denise wouldn't be around my kids again. I didn't know how I'd pull it off, but I'd figure it out. Back home, the boys scampered upstairs to wash up for dinner. I wandered through the silent kitchen to the living room, where Clara sat alone. The room was dim, just a faint glow slipping through the blinds. She was curled up on the couch, face pale, eyes puffy and wet from crying. The fire and defiance from earlier were gone, replaced by a shaky, fragile look. But it didn't move me, it repulsed me. Her sudden change felt like a performance, a slick move to wrestle back control. This wasn't remorse, it was a trap. Her expression wasn't grief, it was calculation. I broke the quiet with a voice cold as stone. "Who's the guy? What's he got that I don't?" She stared, silent. I started to walk away, but her voice stopped me. "It's not about you, Nathan," she said, barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry you found out like this. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't want you to know." Her words landed like a slap, no sorry for what she did, no shame for her choices, just regret I'd caught her. I sank into the recliner she'd picked out for our 6th anniversary, a chair I used to love, now just another thing in the room. "Let me explain," she begged. "This doesn't have to end us. We can keep going, like before. We can fix this if you try to see my side." Her tone shifted, turning sharp, the way it did when she wanted to win a fight. I met her eyes, my voice steady but hard. "Can you tell me it's done? Can you swear you'll never see him again, never go there again?" My hands gripped the chair arms so tight my knuckles ached, holding myself together as the tension burned through me. Clara looked at me, eyes wide, tears spilling down her face, but she didn't answer. That silence told me everything. Her talk with Denise echoed in my head. She wanted both lives, and she wasn't giving him up. She thought I'd just roll over. "Guess that's your answer," I said, standing. "I'll get the boys to bed after dinner. Then we'll talk about what's next." Tomorrow, I'm moving my stuff out. I'll crash with my brother for a bit. I headed to the kitchen. Funny how you end up there when everything's falling apart. Why is that the place you go when your world's crumbling? Clara started prepping dinner, and I took the boys to the den, soaking up their laughs and the easy joy of their games. We were deep in a round of checkers, their giggles filling the air. When Clara called us to dinner, the boys bolted ahead, their chatter bouncing off the walls as they raced to the table in our Columbus home. I nudged them toward the bathroom to scrub their hands, clinging to these normal moments like a lifeline, especially for their sake. Dinner was a riot for Nathan and Elliot. They grabbed and laughed, digging into their food, lost in their own little world. Clara and I sat quiet, each trapped in our own heads, weighed down by choices and their fallout. After we ate, Clara tackled the kitchen mess while I led the boys upstairs for bedtime. We read a few pages from their favorite book, shared some giggles, and finally they snuggled under their blankets, ready to drift off. Standing in their doorway, watching them tug the covers up, my chest tightened, and my eyes burned. This piece of life was slipping away too. Downstairs, I dropped into the recliner, the world crumbling around me. I loved Clara with everything I had, but her words kept looping in my head. He makes me feel alive, and I'm his spark. Those words burned away any chance of fixing this. I couldn't unhear them. Clara walked in and sat across from me. "We gotta talk," she said, her voice steady, like she'd practiced it. "I know you're mad, but hear me out. What I've got with Bryce is just a thrill, a fleeting thing. It's nothing next to what I feel for you. I love you, not him. He's just a sidetrack, and it'll fizzle out. We can keep things the way they were if you let this slide." Her words tumbled out, but they rang empty, like a bad sales pitch. "You can't stop seeing him," I said, slow and deliberate, "and you think I'll just go along with it? Are you out of your mind, or just blind to what this is? Either way, we're done." She looked at me, frustrated, like I was missing the point. "You're not getting it, Nathan. There's still an us. You, me, the boys, that's the future. This is just a blip. You can't toss it all away over something temporary." "No, you're not getting it," I shot back. "There's no us anymore. There's you, and there's him. That's it. We're finished. There's nothing left to hash out. After 8 years, you should know I'd never sign off on this." Clara's voice dropped, turning soft, almost desperate. "Nathan, I love you. You're the only man I've ever loved. I don't love Bryce. For our marriage, for our boys, just give me some time. Please." My tone stayed cold. "Take all the time you want. Tomorrow, I'm calling a lawyer. We'll split things down the middle, and I won't drag you through the mud like you've done to me. I just want out." Exhaustion hit me like a wave. The ache in my chest was worse than any migraine, and I just wanted to crash, to escape the hurt for a few hours. But Clara's next words stopped me cold. "Then screw you," she hissed. "No divorce. I'll fight you tooth and nail. I'll take the house, your money, the boys, everything. You'll barely see them if you push this. I'll still have Bryce, and you can't stop me." Her words landed like a punch, and suddenly it all clicked. This marriage didn't just end tonight, it had been dead for a while. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment outburst, it was planned. She'd gained it out, knowing I might catch her, and instead of backing off, she'd built a plan to bury me. There was no love here, just calculation and spite, a need to grind me down. That truth snuffed out the last flicker of hope I had. This wasn't the woman I'd loved, she'd never been. I stared at Clara, anger surging, hot and steady. Her smug look faded as she caught my expression, confidence giving way to unease. My voice cut through the heavy air. "Here's the deal, Clara. When you back a dog into a corner, it bites. It'll fight to the end when it's got nothing left to lose. You should have thought of that before you pushed me this far. Now you've done it, and you'll regret it. Please, Nathan," she begged, her voice cracking. "I don't want this. I love you, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep you here. If you won't see my side, I'll fight. I know you love me and the boys too much to walk away. You'll stay. I know it." I shook my head. "Goodbye, Clara. Tell the boys I'll see them when I can. I'm grabbing a few things now and I'll come back later for the rest when we sort out a time." I headed upstairs, packing fast, just the basics, toothbrush, some boxers, socks, a couple pairs of jeans. 8 years of marriage stuffed into a small duffel. All that was left were sour memories. But I still had Nathan and Elliot, and they were all that mattered now. When I came back down, Clara was by the kitchen door, poised for another round. "Nathan, please," she said, voice breaking. "Don't do this. I'm begging you. You don't have to go. Just tell me you'll end it with him. Say you'll never see him again, and we've got a shot." "I can't," she whispered. I pushed past her, rage bubbling inside, the kind that makes your hands itch to do something stupid. But I held it together. "I'll swing by after work to see the boys so they don't catch on right away," I said. With that, I yanked the door open and stepped out. It slammed shut behind me as I tossed my bag into the back seat of my truck and climbed in. I backed out of the garage and drove off, eyes fixed on the road, never glancing back. Driving down the road, I dialed my brother, Wade. He lived about 15 miles out in a quiet corner of Dayton, Ohio, by himself since his wife bailed on him for his buddy 3 years back. Wade never bothered with divorce papers, he just let her go and leaned hard into the bottle. He wasn't a sloppy drunk, just always a little fuzzy, enough to blur the past, or so I figured. We'd talked about his drinking plenty, but he never budged. He picked up and told me to head over. "I'll be home soon," he said. When I got there, I fished the spare key from under a planter on his porch and let myself in. Wade's place was spotless, as always. For all his issues, the guy was a neat freak. Seeing everything so tidy felt oddly grounding, a stark contrast to the mess my life had become. I grabbed a couple beers from his fridge and sank into the couch, taking Wade's advice to chill. By the time he rolled in, I was halfway buzzed. We hit the store for more brews and kept drinking back at his place. I gave him the short version. Clara and I had a blowout, and I needed somewhere to crash. Wade didn't pry, just sat with me, sipping his beer, making sure I didn't go overboard. "You're my brother," he said. "I've always got you." Next morning, I woke up with a skull-splitting headache and a heart heavy as lead. The hangover was on me, but no amount of booze could wash away the real hurt. I dragged myself to the bathroom, letting a cold shower blast away the haze of last night. Staying drunk wouldn't fix anything. Wade had left a note saying he'd headed to work and would check in later. No shock there, it was Saturday, and we both worked for the same outfit, fixing up heavy machinery for construction crews across the state. The job was brutal, but the pay kept my family comfortable. Or so I thought. Sitting in Wade's silent house, it hit me how much I'd poured into providing for them. That big house Clara loved, out in Columbus? It was my pride, a symbol of security for us all. Now, though, I saw it differently. To her, it was a bargaining chip, a way to hold my hard-earned cash over me while she chased her fling. The thought twisted my gut. Everything I'd built, the house, the savings, was just fuel for her betrayal. She'd turned it all into a stage to show off for someone else. I cranked the shower hotter, letting the noise drown out my head. I was running late, but I needed to get to work, somewhere I could think straight, sort out the mess, and figure out what I couldn't handle here. Clara had already gamed this out, her words last night proved it. She'd planned for me to find out, counting on my shock to keep me off balance. She'd built a strategy, ready to paint me as the bad guy if I didn't play along with her affair, setting up a divorce to strip me bare while making it look like my fault for not signing off on her fun. She thought she was slick, rigging the game to trap me into accepting her cheating. She had a sweet deal and wasn't about to let her stubborn husband wreck it. I threw on clothes, grabbed a stack of trash bags, and drove to the house, knowing Clara would be out taking the boys to her mom's. Inside, I cleared out my closet and drawers, tossing shirts, jeans, everything into the bags. I scooped up my razor and toothbrush, stuffed them in a smaller sack, and hauled it all to my truck, chucking the load in the back. I went back inside, not ready to leave just yet. I'd swing by after work to see Nathan and Elliot. Too much was swirling in my head, too many choices to make, but one thing was clear, my marriage was dead. Clara wasn't my wife anymore, not my partner, not my confidant. She'd chosen to be someone else's, and that's all she'd ever be now. The thought hit like a brick, and tears stung my eyes. I sank to the floor in what used to be our bedroom, letting the grief roll over me, sobbing for the life I thought we'd had. At work, I threw myself into the grind, pouring every ounce of energy into fixing busted gears and engines. I didn't break, not even for lunch, glad to escape thoughts of home, Clara, and the boys. I tackled the toughest jobs, hydraulic leaks, seized up axles, like they were the only things that mattered, working like a man on a mission. 10 hours flew by until Wade tapped my shoulder, snapping me out of it. "Hey, take a breather, man," he said, half worried, half joking. "You're making us all look bad." I glanced up, wiped out. "Sorry, little brother. Just trying to lose myself in the work, you know? Trying to forget." Wade must have seen the pain carved into my face because he grabbed my arm and steered me to the break room. We'd always been tight, especially after our folks died in a wreck 12 years back. Wade was my best man 8 years ago, godfather to Nathan and Elliot. He could tell when I was falling apart. I slumped into a chair, and Wade handed me a mug of coffee. It tasted like dirt, but the warmth helped. "All right," he said, sitting across from me. "Spill it. Tell me everything, from the start. Don't hold back." I didn't hold back. For a solid 15 minutes, I unloaded everything on Wade in the break room of our Dayton shop. I laid out the shame, the humiliation, the sheer scorn Clara had hurled my way. I told him how she threatened to strip me bare, house, kids, money, betting I wouldn't push back. She thought she could box me in, force me to swallow her affair like it was just part of our life now. I described the smug look on her face when she bragged to Denise about her guy, gloating about how thrilling it was. I recounted her warnings, how she'd ruin me if I didn't play along, her sneer burned into my brain. She made it crystal clear this other guy mattered more than our family, and she had zero plans to let him go. Wade sat there, quiet, his face tightening as I went on. By the time I was done, I felt hollowed out, drained, but still burning with anger. Wade was floored. He'd always seen Clara as a solid woman, a good mom. I'd never let on about any trouble at home, so he figured we were rock steady. Now this. He looked at me, seeing the hurt carved deep, and it shook him. I'm a stand-up guy, good dad, steady provider. At the shop, folks know I'm the one who'll step up, no questions asked. I've bailed out more than my share of buddies over the years. Wade's shock turned to fury. How could she pull this on me? What was wrong with her? He leaned in, voice low but solid. Nathan, you're not just gonna roll over, right? You've got to do something. Let me and the crew back you up. You don't deserve this. His worry hit me hard, and I felt it. I looked at him, hopeless. What can I do, Wade? If I file for divorce, she'll take it all, child support, the house, the truck, everything. You know I'd never shortchange my boys. She's using them against me. She knows I won't hurt them. And now some jerk who's fine messing with my wife might end up in my place. I'm trapped. Wade's jaw clenched. Screw them both. I cared about Clara like family, but she made her choice. She's gonna deal with the fallout. We start by finding out who this guy is, that's the easy part. I'll make some calls, and then we'll figure out the next step. I shrugged, doubtful. Go for it, but I don't see how it changes anything. She won't tell me squat about him. Wade grinned, sharp and determined. Doesn't matter. We'll track him down, and he'll regret crossing us. You know there's no going back to Clara after this, right? No respect left. If you stay, she'll walk all over you. She's someone else's now. His words stung, but then a grim smirk tugged at my lips. You're dead right. She's not my wife anymore. Last night showed me how fast love can curdle into hate. Today, that hate's stronger than any love I had. She turned it into something she'll pay for. We talked a bit more before wrapping up at the shop. No overtime today, instead, we hit a dive bar nearby. This wasn't about getting hammered, it was about scheming. Wade made some calls while I chatted with the guys. I was blown away by their support. They didn't need the whole story, just asked how they could pitch in. Together, we hashed out a plan. By 7:30 p.m., I pulled into the driveway in Columbus and stepped inside. Funny how it hit me, this wasn't home anymore, just the house. I shrugged off my coat in the kitchen and headed to the living room. There was Clara, lounging in her chair, watching Nathan and Elliot play a racing game on the TV. The scene burned itself into my brain. I looked at her, and she glanced back, a faint smile on her lips. Now I saw it for what it was, disdain. She didn't respect me, our boys, or anything we'd built. It was all a sham, and she was the one spinning it. My stare turned cold, and when she caught it, her smile wavered, and she looked away. In the kitchen, I grabbed some leftover meatloaf and green beans from the fridge. I wasn't hungry, but I needed something to do. I'd planned to talk to the boys before bed, but Wade convinced me to hold off. That talk would come soon enough, and it'd be the first move in a fight I knew I couldn't win, but I'd go down swinging. I sat at the table, picking at the food, tasting nothing, just keeping my strength up. Halfway through, Clara walked in and sat across from me. "You cooled off from last night?" she asked. "Can we talk like grown-ups now?" I stared at her, stunned. Grown-ups? Like a cheating wife and her broken husband? That's the real picture. But I kept quiet. "So you're just gonna sit there and pout?" she pushed. "I expected better from you, Nathan. We need to focus on the boys now. Think about your role as their dad." My voice stayed even, but it cut. "Am I their dad? I'm starting to wonder. Maybe I should get some tests done." Her face twisted with anger, and she opened her mouth to snap back, but I beat her to it. "Careful, Clara. The boys might hear if you start yelling. Remember them? The same kids you said I was neglecting last night? Now it's your turn to think about them. Think about what you've done to their world. You didn't just cheat, you tore our family apart. So go on, think hard." Clara dropped her voice to a sharp whisper, leaning across the kitchen table in our Columbus home. "You didn't take me seriously last night, did you? I figured you'd cool off and slip back into routine. Nothing's gonna change here, Nathan. I still love you. You're still my husband, that's not different. You and the boys won't miss a thing. I keep it quiet, handle my business while the kids are at school and you're at work. You're not losing anything. I'm right here for you." I didn't answer, just kept forking meatloaf into my mouth, slow and steady, my face a blank slate, eyes hollow. The silence spoke louder than words. As I stared at her, I felt nothing, no warmth, no rage, just a void. It seemed to rattle her. For the first time, I caught a glint of worry in her eyes. "What are you gonna do?" she asked, her voice wavering. "You gonna make this messier than it needs to be? I told you, he's not taking anything from you. I'm still yours. Why can't you get that?" Her words started to crack with emotion, but I just chewed, letting her please hit a wall of quiet. Finally, I swallowed and said, "We'll talk later. Not while the boys are up. I heard you out last night, didn't like it, but I listened. Now's not the time." Clara eased up, even flashed a small smile. "Thanks for that. You were right about some stuff, but your words stung. I'll tuck the boys in soon, and then we can sort this out." She brushed past, resting a hand on my shoulder. I flinched, couldn't help it, and she pulled back quickly. The revulsion at her touch was obvious. I hung out with Nathan and Elliot, trying to keep things normal, even though I knew the ground was shifting under us. Part of me toyed with the idea of just going along, letting her have her fling, waiting it out. She said she loved me, wanted to stay married. But deep down, I knew I couldn't stomach it, not now, not ever. It was past 10 p.m. when Clara came back to the living room. She sighed, sank into a chair, and gave me a tired smile. "The boys are out. Growing so fast, aren't they? Almost too old for bedtime routines. They say goodnight, but I bet they're sneaking flashlights to read comics. They're great kids." I nodded. "Yeah, they're awesome. Breaks my heart they'll have to deal with this. I just don't know how to protect them from the fallout." Her smile faded. "What are you talking about? Nothing's gonna change, Nathan. Just let me have this, it'll pass quickly. You won't lose a thing. I love you, wanna stay your wife. This is just something I need for now, that's it." I looked at her, this woman I'd loved for 8 years, married because I couldn't picture life without her. We had 2 incredible boys, a solid life, until yesterday flipped it all upside down. She didn't seem to get why I was gutted. I hadn't planned to dive into this tonight, but I couldn't hold back. "I need to lay it out," I said. "Last night, you said you love me, want to keep this marriage, and he's not taking anything from me. You won't tell me who he is, said it's not my business. Then you spelled out what happens if I push for divorce. You'd take the house, the boys, everything. You were real clear about your plan." Clara's face tightened, anger flashing. She didn't like her words thrown back at her. Maybe they hit differently coming from me, but I knew she saw the truth. "You're not seeing it like I do," she said, defensive. "I told you, this isn't about our marriage. Why won't you believe I love you and want us together?" My voice stayed steady, but it cut deep. What I heard last night wasn't love. It was disdain, for me, for our vows, for everything I've poured into this family. When I got mad, you hit me with threats, ones you'd clearly thought out way before we talked. You humiliated me, tore me down, then acted like I was the one missing the point. You knew how I'd react and had your comeback ready. Why do you think that is? Anger crept into my tone, cracking the calm I'd been holding on to. Clara's defiance just fueled it. Here's what I figured out, I said, my words sharp. You thought you had me trapped, no way out. But you missed something, Clara. Even a cornered dog'll bare its teeth when it's got nothing left to lose. With that, I stood and headed for the kitchen door where Clara still sat. I paused, turning to her. I'm crashing somewhere else tonight, maybe for a while. I'll stop by after work so the boys don't notice anything, at least not yet. Her voice shook, panic breaking through. What do you mean, somewhere else? Why not stay? We can't fix this if you're gone, Nathan. Don't do this. I love you, I can't lose you. I don't know what I'll do if you walk out. There's gotta be a way to work this out. I met her eyes, my words slow and final. I'm sorry, Clara. All I know for sure is I don't love you anymore. Your betrayal did its job, Clara, I said, my voice flat but heavy. It killed every bit of love I had for you last night. That's the one thing I'm dead sure of. I don't know what's next, but I know there's no turning back. Tears welled in her eyes as she leaned forward, voice shaking. Nathan, what about your vows? You promised to love and honor me, did you forget? I held her gaze, unflinching. I didn't forget a thing. But I remember your vows too. You stood up on our wedding day and swore to be true, to put me first. You broke that. I gave you everything, my heart, my loyalty, kept my word. It wasn't enough for you. You took what was ours and handed it to someone else, and you burned my love to ash doing it. So yeah, I'm walking away. You shattered it all, and I'm done. I turned and left, heading to Wade's place in Dayton. He said I could crash there as long as I needed. I told him I just wanted time to wrap things up, soon, this'd be over, and I could start fresh. Over the next few days, I worked long hours at the shop and spent evenings with Nathan and Elliot, but I steered clear of Clara. She tried sparking conversations, but I'd just walk off. One night, she shouted after me, but I grabbed my keys and bolted without a word. During a break at work, one of the guys pulled Wade aside, saying everything was set, we'd have answers soon. All I had to do was wait. By the next week, nothing had shifted. I'd come home to a tighter, more strained Clara each night. The boys didn't seem to notice, though Elliot asked if I was busier than usual. You're hardly around after dinner, he said. I smiled, promised we'd hang out all weekend, and he let it go, happy enough. Clara kept prodding with questions, but I shut her out, leaving the house the second she tucked the boys in. By the time she came downstairs, I was gone. At week's end, Wade found me in the break room and slid a folder across the table. I shot him a curious look, but he just shook his head. I flipped it open and scanned the pages, 2 sheets, both naming the same guy, Bryce Harlan. That was him. A junior lawyer at Carter, Wells and Dunn, 25 years old, nearly a decade younger than me, single after a divorce 3 years back. Lived in a fancy loft in downtown Columbus, so he had cash. Clara had been to his place twice that week, staying over an hour each time. Now I had a name, an address, a face to the shadow. What I couldn't wrap my head around was what Clara saw in him that I didn't have. What made him worth torching our marriage? But that wasn't my problem anymore. Maybe it would have been if she'd come to me months ago, talked it out, instead of shoving her affair in my face like I had to eat it. Now, I just needed my next step. I glanced at Wade for guidance. Somehow, he was steering the ship, even though it was my life in pieces. I was damn lucky to have him and the crew. Being a reliable guy at work had earned me loyalty when I needed it most. Everything's rolling, Wade said. First move tonight. I'll call you at the house when it's time. Keep your phone close. Once I ring, you can lay it all out and end this. I nodded, but knowing it was happening didn't ease the weight. This wasn't how I wanted it to go, but Clara and her guy had backed me into a corner, and this was the only way I knew to push back. I wasn't some hotshot lawyer or a guy with deep pockets to scheme big. I was a mechanic, a guy who busted his hands for an honest living, who loved his family with everything. Clara didn't care about that, and now I'd fight on my terms. She'd see what that meant soon enough. I got home and sat down for dinner with the boys, acting like nothing was wrong. Clara talked with them, and I chimed in when they asked me stuff, even starting a few chats myself. Inside, I was wound tight, but I kept it together. After we ate, I hung out with Nathan and Elliot, playing a board game and helping with their math homework. To anyone watching, I was just Dad, same as always. Clara, done with the dishes, came in and leaned against the doorway, watching us. She seemed to relax, thinking I was slipping back into my old self, that things might smooth over. Meanwhile, across town, Bryce Harlan left his office and headed for his car, ready to drive to his loft. He was still buzzing from his last meetup with Clara 3 days ago at his place. She'd been bolder than ever, trying something new to keep him hooked. When he asked why, she said her husband had found out. It threw him, but she brushed it off, saying it wasn't a problem. That struck Bryce as odd, but knowing her husband was in the loop made the thrill sharper. He didn't dig deeper. As Bryce cut through an alley toward the parking lot, a jolt hit him, nearly knocking him down. Before he could catch his balance, hands grabbed his arms, yanking him deeper into the alley toward a shadowed courtyard. 2 guys pinned him against a brick wall, each gripping an arm. Their faces were hidden behind dark masks, and their size alone made his stomach drop. Bryce wasn't loaded, didn't carry much cash, so what did they want? A 3rd guy stepped up, also masked, gloved hands flexing. He grabbed Bryce's jaw, forcing his eyes up. "You know a woman named Clara Carter, you punk," he growled. Her name sent ice through Bryce's veins. "Oh, hell, her husband." I don't know anybody by that name," he stammered, trembling, trying to dodge it. The guy's fist slammed into Bryce's side, stealing his breath and sparking pain that blurred his vision. Bryce couldn't hide the panic. "I'll ask one more time," the man said, voice like steel. "Do you know Clara Carter?" Cornered, Bryce caved. "Yeah," he gasped. "I know her." My phone buzzed just after 8:20 p.m. while I was hanging with Nathan and Elliot in our Columbus living room. I stepped into the hall to take the call. It was Wade, voice clipped. "It's done. Lesson 1's complete. He's in the hospital." He hung up, and I slid the phone back into my pocket, a grim satisfaction settling in. Back in the living room, I flashed a small smile. Clara caught it and seemed to relax, probably thinking I was coming around. Later, after she tucked the boys in, she came downstairs, and I nodded toward a chair across from me. "We need to talk," I said, my tone even. Clara grabbed a mug of tea and sat, her face a mix of hope and caution. "You seem calmer," she said. "I'm so glad. I was terrified I'd lose you, Nathan. That'd crush me. I know you don't buy it, but I love you, more than anything. I can't let this ruin what we've got." I let her words hang, my emotions churning under a calm surface. Even now, her beauty was undeniable, the woman I'd planned to grow old with. But her betrayal had gutted everything we'd built. It was time to drop the mask. "Clara," I started, voice steady, "I've got something to say, and I need you to hear me out." She nodded, unease flickering in her eyes. "I know your guy's name, Bryce Harlan. Junior lawyer at Carter, Wells and Dunn. I know all about him. I know you've been to his place twice this week." Her face drained of color, and she opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. "Here's the thing," I went on, cold as ice. "When I got mad, you hit me with threats, divorce, taking the house, the boys, everything. I can still hear you, I'll take it all. Those words ended our marriage, Clara. You forced me to stand by while you ran off with him, but I told you, a cornered dog doesn't just roll over. It fights." Her eyes widened, real fear creeping in, her body tensing like she was bracing for a hit. "I know you told Denise I never made you feel like he does, that you were his spark. I'm not sorry this is ending in a way you won't like. Bryce Harlan's been made to understand his time with you is done. He won't call, won't see you, won't even look your way." Clara's shock turned to panic. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. I pressed on. "I'm filing for divorce. No alimony. I'll cover child support, Nathan and Elliot will have everything they need, as long as you take care of them. But you? You'll earn your own way. The papers are already moving. You'll get them soon." She shot to her feet, face twisting with rage. "You're out of your mind if you think I'll sign off on this. I told you I'd clean you out, and I will." I gave a faint, unsettling smile. "Why don't you call Bryce right now? See what he says." Oh, wait, you might need to try the hospital. That call I got earlier? It was about him. He's in the ER at Riverside General. Her expression crumpled into horror. What did you do to him? She demanded, voice breaking. I shrugged, calm as ever. I've been here all night. Why would you think I did anything? You said this was none of my business. Clara had never seen this side of me. I'd always been the steady guy, level-headed, the dad who left discipline to her because I couldn't bear to raise a hand to the boys. Now, she was staring at someone else, someone with a hard edge and a gaze that gave nothing away. She bolted from the room, and I heard her voice, low and frantic, on the phone. When she came back, tears streamed down her face, and she collapsed into a chair, staring at nothing. I picked up the newspaper, knowing exactly what she'd heard. Her guy had cut her loose, no choice left after the 3 men who'd cornered him after work made it clear what had happened if he didn't. They drilled the message into him, I'm sorry, Mrs. Carter. It was a mistake. I regret it. I'll never contact you or your family again. Goodbye. Clara wiped her eyes, her breath shaky. Well, you got what you wanted, she said, voice hollow. Bryce said he's done with me. He's sending my things back, said he regrets it all. Doesn't want to talk anymore. I set the paper down and stood. Then you've got nothing to stress about. My lawyer's handling the rest. This'll be over soon. I started for the door but paused. I'll sit down with the boys this weekend, explain why we're splitting. They might be too young to get it now, but they'll grow up and piece it together. I glanced back, seeing her sobbing, head in her hands. If I recall, I said, my tone bitter, you told me this was just a phase, that we'd go back to normal. Well, Clara, you're still young, still got your looks. Maybe you'll find someone who's fine with your games, someone who doesn't care if you chase thrills elsewhere. But that's not me. Good luck. I walked out, leaving her alone with her grief. Kids might not grasp the mess adults make, but grown-ups? They live with the fallout, and that fallout cuts deep. Meanwhile, earlier that night in a Columbus alley, Bryce Harlan had begged for mercy. Just let me go, he'd pleaded. I swear, I'll never talk to her again. The lead man's voice was like gravel, leaving no room for debate. You're gonna make sure of it. Understand? Bryce nodded, gasping, clinging to hope this was just a scare. But the man leaned in. We don't take kindly to guys like you messing with another man's wife. So we're gonna make it stick. They shoved Bryce back, pain exploding as they drove the lesson home. He tried to yell, but a hit to his jaw silenced him. Blows kept coming, and soon, darkness took him. When he came to, slumped against the wall, every inch of him screamed in agony. The masked men were still there. One grabbed his face, hard. Listen up. You're gonna tell her this, word for word, I'm sorry, Mrs. Carter. It was a mistake. I regret it. I'll never see or speak to you again. I'll have no contact with you or your kids. I'm sorry I ever met you. Goodbye. Got it? Bryce nodded, barely able to move. They made him repeat it, over and over, until it was carved into his brain. Mess this up, the leader said, and you'll hurt worse. Then they were gone, leaving him broken in the shadows. Hours later, Bryce woke up in the ER at Riverside General. His injuries weren't fatal, but he'd be staying for observation, doped up on pain meds. The dull ache in his ribs and face lingered, but the fear was sharper, those words looping in his head. He muttered a shaky thanks for being alive but couldn't shake the terror of slipping up.